I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey everybody, it's Lauren Kling. Welcome to another AfterBuzz After Show for What We Do in the Shadows, Episode 6, On the Run. I am joined by always as the very hat and hair interesting filled co-host Kevin Allen. How are you, Kevin?
I'm great. Everything is perfectly normal.
Okay, so it's one of those after shows where we don't notice something amiss. So we'll continue on as if Kevin looked like this all the time. I can't
Thank you.
stop. I feel like I'm watching Twitch and there's an episode of Red Dead Redemption going on. And I'm trying to figure out which of the guys you play. I think you own the general store and people pick on you a lot.
Okay. Man, I thought the hat was more of a power statement, but good to know. That's the vibe I'm giving off right now.
My apologies. There's truth serum in the water I'm drinking. So let's talk about this episode. So we're going to talk about what we do on the shadows. We had a very special guest, if you guys didn't know, in the actual episode, playing Jim the Vampire.
Right.
I happened to watch a project that he was in, the last filmed project, live film project he was in. So Kevin, do you want to tell everybody who that was if they don't know?
Honestly, I was thinking of him as the voice of one of Woody Woodpecker's nemesis, but I'm now trying to think of who you're thinking of. Is it Luke Skywalker?
It is Mark Hamill.
Yeah,
You are right. The mystery man, Jim the Vampire, who calls Laszlo Cravensworth.
Apparently, that's Laszlo's last name.
I maybe. I don't know.
I think it is. The hat's not working out for me.
Okay.
Supposedly that's his last name. Mark Hamill didn't know it either until he read the script for this episode. So it might actually be a new revelation.
I think so. Oh, we were wondering if there were going to be any Easter eggs or anything like that. I fully expected and predicted there would be some kind of the Star Wars or the Joker. I didn't see any, but perhaps one of our sleuthy fans or Kevin. Did you notice anything?
Honestly, I'm not the one to ask because, as we'll find out in my news segment later, there might be a reason why you want to make a Star Wars reference. But again, I'm not the most eagle-eyed viewer, so if anybody in the chat, which I've got my eyes on that at least, I can read the chat.
Yes.
If you guys have noticed anything, let us know, and we will tell the world. And of course, give you the credit.
Yes. So talking about chat, we want to thank our fans for being online and chatting with us. I love Billie Jean 24. She says, so Lazlo pulled the Clark Kent glasses thing with a toothpick? That was so dumb. It was hardly a good disguise, which is probably the best.
No, it wasn't just the toothpick, Billy. There were the blue jeans.
Right.
The Arizona accent.
That's right. Arizona. Yeah. That's right. Arizona. So thank you for that. This was a Laszlo episode. So really, when it comes down to breaking down the episode and talking about it, Kevin, what did you think of this episode with our besides Mark Hamill, our special guest?
Well, just as the narrative episode that it was, we talked, you and I, a lot recently about how the show is starting to become more condensed with its plot lines. It's more normally just an A plot and a B plot that might overlap toward the end. But this was just one story. There really wasn't anything going on outside of Jim trying to flee. Sorry, Laszlo trying to flee Jim. Anything that we saw back at the house with the other vampires was just about, and they kind of miss him while he's away. But there really wasn't anything else going on. And considering that the main story was about an alternate identity, this felt like this weird fantasy dream episode for What We Do in the Shadows. But still, it's a fantastic show, and it was hilarious all the same, just in an alternate universe. It's almost like a spinoff.
For some reason, I wouldn't have been surprised if the cast from Sunny in Philadelphia came on to the set and it was a crossover episode.
But oh man, lots of great improvised lines would have definitely been spat.
Yeah, definitely. So the fact that apparently Laszlo went to visit San Diego without Nausea once and didn't pay Jim the Vampire the last month's rent. And this was 167 years ago. So this would have been the early days of San Diego.
Oh, okay. Yeah, when it was getting started, and Jim was on the ground floor of San Diego real estate and missed out on that very important piece of rent that could have given him all the success in the world.
Right. This would have been around 1830 or so, a lot different than it is today. So yeah, most of the episode, Lazlo is basically run away to try to not go through this duel. I've always felt like Laszlo, I'm not surprised he ran away. He does I think everyone in the house almost seem like scaredy cats. Wouldn't you agree? They don't always face their fears head on.
No, and as much as they all gave him a hard time for choosing the duel and trying to act macho, I feel like they would have done the same. They would have done anything to avoid conflict. They may not have had the gall to accept a duel or to initiate one, but they would have tried to talk their way out of it or weasel their way out of it or something. We have seen a challenge though earlier in the series in which, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. Nandor took on a werewolf and he met him on the rooftop, but he honestly tried to, discuss his way around it. And then when it came to be an actual duel, they pulled a dirty trick and then it was over.
So right. That's true.
Yeah,
right.
Maybe they wouldn't flee, but none of them would really face their consequences.
Right. And we did have the showdown in the bar between the two where they break the pool cues and make a cross and both burn their own hands.
Why would they do that?
And Jim's like, oh, this is gonna leave a mark. But it was touching that Lazlo becomes his name is Jackie Daytona.
The best alternate name ever.
It was. Now Laszlo, I'm blanking on the actor's name, but he was on a great BBC series. He's been on a couple of BBC series, if I'm not mistaken.
Matt Berry?
Yeah, Matt Berry.
Yes, absolutely. I know him from IT Crowd.
Yes, which was a great show. And I think in the first season, him as the weird boss was just basically, this is seeing Matt Berry what Matt Berry does best, playing kind of an oddball. So he's Jackie Daytona, regular human bartender.
Yes.
And falls in love with.
He's still wearing the 17th century puffy shirt. Yes. He just like put on the blue jeans and a toothpick. Yeah, but regular guy.
Right. And then Billie Jean alludes to that was part of the costume, the Clark Kent costume. Yes. I was kind of surprised. I wasn't sure if Jim the Vampire was effing with Lazlo in the bar when he comes back, if he really didn't know or was pretending not to know that it was Lazlo.
Well, when he first came into the bar, I was like, oh, the jig is up. But as he sat down and ordered a regular human drink, I was like, okay, so he's playing along, trying to like lure the spider into it or the fly into his web. But as this conversation kept going, I was like, oh, he's pretending to be human for real. So he must assume this other guy is also a human. And right. I think definitely by the second time he came in to support the volleyball team, I was like, oh, he doesn't get who this is. And he is just as dumb as a bag of rocks. And I have confirmed that is the case by means of Mark Hamill's Twitter. He said the same thing, that the character is just really that dense.
Oh, okay. Because for a moment I was wondering if it was a rule of the vampires, canon that
Oh, I like that.
that although we know who it is, that they can actually become human looking until
Mm,
something is revealed. Like, for example, I think the mirror behind the bar
yeah, that's
when Jim
that's
the
what did
vampire.
it.
Yeah. J- and Mark Hamill's credit is Jim the Vampire. I don't even know if there was a last name established.
So in the script, there wasn't even a first name. It
Really?
was just the vampire. That's all he got. And again, this is all in Mark's Twitter. Mark loved this character so much. He did a live tweet when it aired last night. And he tweeted that when he got the script, it just said the vampire. And he's like, okay, well, I do love a challenge. That's all he got for that character.
Yeah, it's an actor's dream to book a role, but a nightmare where they're just employee number 3 or
Mm-hmm.
the vampire. It's kind of
Yeah.
hard to build your social media following and you say, "Hey everybody, tune in where I play a vampire." So that's good. I'm
Yeah.
glad he was able to I'm glad they were able to add that. It turns out a big mouth Billy Bass has made its way back into the lexicon of modern day Earth, planet Earth.
Yeah. I always honestly I hate those things, but I love seeing them on television. I love seeing characters interact and treat them exactly how Jim did, where it's this amazing contraption and it's worth all the gold in Midas's kingdom. It's
Yeah. Now, I will say before dad jokes became a name, a thing, I think a big mouth Billy Bass was the way you defined a dad who would also tell bad jokes. At
oh
least in my
really?
case, my father-in-law had one over the fire pit, and I'm sure many of our fathers and uncles had them inside the garage where their spouses said that's the only place you can put them.
I
Um,
stayed in a
so
cabin in
it
Alaska once with a couple of people. They found one of those and they made sure everyone heard it.
That's funny. Awesome. All right. So the only other
Back
thing
to the show.
really we've got Nausea, who is at home playing cards. She's sad that Laszlo's gone, and Colin tries to pick up on Nausea, but again, I don't know if Colin knew what he was doing. I don't know which direction he was going. He goes in for the kiss, but I had to replay it a whole bunch of times. He says, an unwanted kiss rejection is one of the most awkward interactions and therefore one of the most delicious forms of energy draining.
Yes. And that was one of the things. So again, like when Jim came into the bar, we're like, I don't know if you're just saying these things, but you have something else going on. It was the same thing with Colin. He was saying like, oh, I had this ulterior motive, and I was like, did you though? I believed it
Right.
was 100% earnest. When just like the previous episode, he just wanted to come in and have a conversation and be a better roommate. That's
Yeah.
what his character arc has become. So it was like, oh, he genuinely cares, but now he's making a move, and that's a little too much.
Right. You wonder if he's the smartest one in the bunch or not. But even he gets rejected by Naja the doll.
Yes, yes, he does. Which apparently that was the ego blow that really got to him.
Right. So unless you have anything else to add, Kevin, to this episode to review.
Um, no, just that my disappointment and how terribly wrong I was with last week's prediction that the vampire that Mark Hamill was playing would have something to do with Guillermo's career character arc and moving him forward into being a vampire hunter. When in fact, not only did that not happen, but they never share dialogue. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
I wish I'd gotten that. Uh, I personally loved the way the story did go, though. It was wholly entertaining. Jackie Daytona is a fantastic character. He this whole second life he has built is just fascinating to me. I have no idea how long he's had this character going on. I have no idea how long in the past he did it before like meeting Nadia maybe. But at some point he bought a pickup truck, and it's just been hanging out in Pennsylvania waiting for him.
Yeah.
He somehow managed to work his way up as a coach. Like either he spent eons away from the house doing all of this, or he's been going back and forth for quite some time, living this double life.
Right, but Nandor said he was only gone a week this last stretch. If he had done it multiple times.
Yeah, but then Laszlo said that no, I've been gone, and he didn't specify, but he was like, no, I was gone for way longer. It's been ages, or he said something.
He might be again trying to pull the wool over Nandor's eyes. Who knows?
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
But anyway, let's move on to our fantabulous news.
All right. So continuing on what I said last week about Mark Hamill and Star Wars being the Star Wars icon that he is, and then Taika Waititi having this show and those worlds kind of crossing over, fans may have speculated as to whether or not their paths would ever cross again, in the sense that Mark may work on one of Taika Waititi's Star Wars related projects that are coming out in the future. He worked on Mandalorian, and he's got a whole movie deal now with Star Wars. I can definitively say that will not happen. Mark Hamill did an interview with Entertainment Weekly a couple days ago, in which he basically laid it out on the line, saying that he is done with Star Wars. He loves it. He has all the appreciation that any person or actor could ever have for being part of the project. But he said his character had a beginning, middle, and end, and this franchise gave him far more than he could ever have imagined. And he would rather see them tell new stories with new talents and have the universe expand in that way. I thought that was a really nice touch. He bowed out with episode 9, and he did so graciously and with all of the civility and gravitas that an actor like he could possibly have. And I just think that was a really cool statement. We're seeing a lot of reboots these days and reunions, but he's like, no, I did all I needed to do, and I'm grateful for it. I thought that was nice.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that. I was going to say something about Mark Hamill, and then I forgot. Oh, here's something that I just found out. My wife showed me a YouTube video of the Donny and Marie show, which was a variety show from the 70s, where Donny and Marie were dressed up as Princess Leia and Han and Luke Skywalker, and they were dancing and singing Stormtroopers. I probably in the same vein as the Star Wars holiday special. So if you've seen the holiday special and you haven't had enough, I will say that 70s variety shows are some of the best, most weird looking OMG moments. And this one certainly fits into the Star Wars canon. Definitely check it out. And then, of course, I'll have to mention the Paul Lynde holiday special with the woman who was the Wicked Witch in Wizard of Oz, introing Kiss, who was the musical band for the Paul Lynde holiday special. Yeah. Anyway, we could go on talking about. Oh yeah, we could go on talking about variety shows forever and ever. But now let's move on to special segments. This is what I call what we do in TV and movies, overlook vampire themed movies and TV shows. All right, now I have two different things. One of them is ranker.com rated the best vampire movies of the 1980s. Of course, probably one of the most famous ones that many of us remember, 1987's The Lost Boys with Kiefer Sutherland and the two Coreys, Feldman and Haim. Did you have a preference to which Corey? Did you like both Coreys, Kevin?
I personally, in that movie, I was a fan of Alex Winter because I'm a huge Bill and Ted fan.
Oh, right.
So even though Alex Winter like barely said anything in there, I was I was on his side.
Yeah,
I guess between the two, I would say Feldman because he was a Ninja Turtle.
Okay, I can agree. Joel Schumacher directed that. Also a movie that I don't know if you ever saw, 1985's Transylvania 65000 with Gina Davis, Jeff Goldblum, and Jeffrey Jones, who was in Ferris Bueller, played the principal. It's an American/Yugoslav horror comedy movie about two tabloid reporters who travel to modern-day Transylvania to uncover the truth behind Frankenstein sightings. Along the way, they encounter other horror movie staples: a mummy, a werewolf, a vampire.
Wow, that's way better than Monster Squad.
Yeah, I remember seeing that movie, and I think I'm ready for another viewing. Here's 3 movies that I saw on the list I have never heard of, but just on the name alone, I wanted to mention those. Number 1, Billy the Kid and the Green Beige Vampire, 1985 British musical.
Huh. That that is quite the interesting title and description. Like
Yeah, Beige.
yeah.
Beige or Baize, Baize. Then also from 1985, A Polish Vampire in Burbank.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
All right.
Yeah. What I love is it starred Eddie Deason, who was in War Games. He was the big nerd in War Games. And then
Hmm.
1988's Robo Vampire, action crime horror sci-fi film.
Okay. Sorry. Robo Vampire, I get. It's an action sci-fi crime horror.
Horror, right.
Okay. That checks out. If anybody, Billy, Renji, any of you, if you have seen these films, let me know. Because I'm interested, but it's probably a bad idea.
Yeah, the names are interesting. When I think of whenever there's the name of a town, especially a town in or around Hollywood and Southern California, where movies and TV shows have been made forever, I always feel like it was basically somebody with a video camera or a camcorder who wanted to do a comedy slash something other genre piece, but they could only afford to film what was actually around, meaning they
Oh
couldn't
yeah.
afford sets, so they would just film modern day Burbank or modern day Van Nuys. So that's yeah. I don't know if I want to subject myself to trying any of these movies.
I don't either, but
Anyway,
I come across them. I might have to.
I've got a movie from the 90s, a vampire movie from the 90s that I will talk about next week. But now, before we go on to predictions, I do want to quickly thank
Mhm.
everyone out there who are on our chat. Billie Jean Girl 24 and Renji 90998, a couple of people that have been talking up the chat room. So thank you. We want to thank you for
Mhm.
watching AfterBuzz. We are the ESPN of TV talk. That means that we love covering TV shows, scripted shows, reality shows, entertainment shows, soaps, anything you can watch on TV. We probably have an after show for it. If you guys love us, give us a 5-star rating or thumbs up. Kevin, you have a question or a point to
I
make?
have to make an addendum to your statement. We haven't
Yes.
done after shows for any of the movies you've described, and that might have to be new territory if there's an interest.
Oh,
Billy mentioned that she's never seen those movies, so maybe it's up to us to tell them about it. That is what we do here at AfterBuzz, after all.
so Kevin, are you volunteering us and AfterBuzz family to watch these movies to possibly?
Oh, no, because I'm still busy with this show. Next, I had to come back next week, and later on, I'll be on the Fort Salem after show tonight.
Okay.
And then I know those are both Thursday shows, but trust me, the rest of my week is also swamped,
Yeah.
just totally.
But if Billie Jean would like to watch any of these movies and then share with us in chat if they're worthy of watching, we would be eternally indebted to you, at least until we have to have a duel and we run away to Pennsylvania and come up with a different name.
Yes.
All right. Finally, let's talk about our predictions. Roll that predictions cool footage.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV.
All right, Kevin. So you feel bad for being completely off with your predictions. I feel like perhaps sometimes our predictions are just grasping straws.
I mean, that's the nature of this show. Is every
Hmm.
episode is something completely unexpected and new, and that's one of the reasons I love it. I can never see this show coming.
Yeah.
So just like I was completely off last week, I mean, I can make something up I'd like to see, but that doesn't mean a hill of beans at this point. Let's see. I appreciate that Colin Robinson is developing his character as well, and that he's
Hmm.
becoming more considerate of his roommates' feelings. Maybe he'll be the one to open up uh, to Guillermo and get him going. You know, being the most
Right.
normal of the group. And maybe Guillermo will become his familiar and learn the ways of the energy vampire.
That would be an interesting episode. How the other, yeah, interesting. I would say the only really continuing story where we could really talk about predictions is Guillermo.
Yes.
You know, what is going to happen with him? We know that once he kills the vampires in the house, that's kind of the end of the show. So we don't want that to happen.
No.
So it's hard to make predictions about what else is going to happen, even including Guillermo's character. He can continue and go back with the other group of vampire slayers. I don't necessarily know if he's going to do that.
I don't either. And honestly, I'd be amazed if they're still meeting, like at all. After what happened,
Right.
They probably have taken some time at home.
Yeah. I would, if I was going to make a wishful prediction, I wish that the show would have an episode where it's one of those let's look back on our previous episodes kind of shows. They were huge in the 1980s and early 90s when they had those
Tying it back around
shows
to
where where they would sit around and talk about, hey, remember the time when, and then it would kind of go into the sequence of something that happened. It was basically they were done.
a clip show.
Yeah, like a clip show. So, but within the show, I think that would be fun. I'm curious how they would come up with something where they're recalling past memories of previous shows and what the purpose is, rekindling old ideas and things.
That might be a fun way to get some alternate takes of scenes we have seen, because there is an element of improvisation with this series. So it'd be fun to look back on past memories, but they're just kind of the wrong memory, just a little bit.
Yes.
That might be
fun. So any other predictions or thoughts or any other stab in the darks, what you see for the show going forward?
No, but I do appreciate you using the phrase stab in the dark.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, cool. With that, Keven, where can people find you or your alter ego, Dwayne Higginbottom? Where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Instagram at Keven Allen Graham, Twitter at Keven Allen Says, and if you really want, you can look up Commodore Wright on Twitter as well. That profile hasn't been active in a long time.
Okay, wonderful. You can find me on MySpace. No, I'm just kidding. You can find me on Instagram at Lauren Kling, LorenKling. Also on Mondays for the World on Fire after show. From all of us at AfterBuzz, thank you for watching, and thank you for everyone in the chat room. We love having you there. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.